What's going on, everybody? It is playoff time here, and we are on the Blitz angle providing our predictions for the postseason for you guys. We're going to start in the wild card round, and we're going to move all the way to the Super Bowl. And you guys are going to see who is crowned the champion in our minds in San Francisco, where we will be on site covering that for you guys. We're going to start in the wild card round, and we're going to start with Brady here. Brady, give us your winners in the wild card weekend and give us a quick summary of what your favorite game is and what could potentially be the most interesting, matchup.
Yeah, so we'll have a little bit more in-depth analysis on these picks in the video that we have coming out with our actual just wild card round predictions, but just rolling through it. We're going to start off in Carolina, where it's going to be a snooze fest. The Rams are going to move on. I know they're a 5 seed. They might have the MVP at quarterback. They've got Puka, they've got McVay, they've got Devontae, they've got Kyron Williams. They've just got too much artillery compared to what the Panthers have. They'll be moving on. And then you go on to Saturday night, divisional classic game, Bears and Packers, rubber match. Both teams took a game at home in the regular season. This time, I think it's going to be the road team. I've got the Green Bay Packers taking the upset and becoming still the only number 7 seed to win in this expanded format, but doing it for the second time after they won in Dallas 2 years ago as a 7 seed. You go to Sunday at 1 o'clock. I like the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know people are saying all the stuff about Josh Allen. This is if he doesn't win it this year, is he ever going to? Yeah, I can see it, but I don't feel the same way. I feel like the Jaguars are the better team. I feel like they have the better coach, and I feel like they're playing better football over the last month or 2 months. Give me Jacksonville Sunday afternoon, defending champion Eagles hosting the 49ers. Niners got shut down by the Seahawks last week. I expect more of the same this week against a similar caliber of defense in the Philadelphia Eagles. They've got too much pride as reigning champs to go down in the wild card round. Give me Philly Sunday night in Foxborough. Drake May makes his playoff debut against Justin Herbert, who's still seeking his first playoff win. One of these transcendent, similar type of quarterbacks is going to get their first playoff win. I think it's going to be the much younger guy in Drake May. I think that the Chargers offensive line puts them too much behind the 8 ball. I think the Patriots offense is just a little bit too good to be held in check long enough by this Chargers defense. Pats move on. And then on Monday night, give me the Houston Texans and the best defense in the NFL taking down Aaron Rodgers in what could be his final career game. I don't think at this point it'll be Mike Tomlin's last game of the Steelers, but I think it could be Aaron Rodgers' final farewell. Texans, Patriots, Jaguars, Packers, and Rams all moving on.
Yeah, I think the wild card weekend is about as entertaining as it has been since they expanded the format. Looking at that first matchup, it's the one least interesting game, but the Panthers did beat the Rams earlier on this year. I think Stafford, right, in this offense with the addition of Devontae Adams returning from injury, right, we saw how dominant this unit was prior to Adams' injury. It's going to be a massive boost for them going forward in the postseason. I want to see this defense make a statement because they've struggled over the last month. Give me the Rams, though. They're going to be moving on. As far as the Packers and the Bears go, this is the second hardest matchup for me to predict. I like the Packers in a large part due to the fact that they're returning Jordan Love. Josh Jacobs got a big week of rest. They're also returning Zach Tom on the offensive line. This Packers offense was a onside recovery away from sweeping the Bears and potentially winning this division down the stretch here. Ultimately didn't happen, but I think the Packers are the more veteran team who's been there, and they're going to take Chicago down the road, like Brady mentioned as well. Bills and Jaguars, toughest one for me to predict. The Jaguars are a great, well rounded football team, but they're running into the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, who I think this is the time that Josh Allen is going to move on, win some playoff matchups, and make some noise this postseason. They have a great ground game to go along with Allen as the quarterback. And while Jacksonville has a great run defense, I think they're going to be able to overcome that. And I think the Bills defense might be in for a surprise performance here on Sunday morning. Eagles and 49ers, maybe one of the more least interesting matchups in my mind. I think Philly matches up very well with San Francisco and their defense and what they can do. The 49ers defense, on the other hand, has struggled the entire year. Even, Philip Rivers had a great day against this defense. I think Jalen Hurts and Kevin Patullo can have a decent day against them and find a way to win a ball game. And like Brady mentioned, like this team is too talented and they're defending champs. They're going to be moving on and being a big player in the NFC side of things down the stretch here. The Chargers versus the Patriots. This one's going to be tighter than I think people expect. The Chargers have a good defense coming in. Their biggest weakness, though, is up front on their offensive line, And as good as Justin Herbert is, it might not be enough against New England, who is rolling this entire season as a young up and coming football team. Vrabel and McDaniels have been there and won championships before. And I think that will carry over into this squad into their first playoff game, and they will get a win in the wild card round. And then the final matchup, the Texans versus the Steelers. The Texans defense, I think, is in for a great game against this Steelers offense that, has found a little bit of magic as of late, but the Texans have been the most dominant defense in the NFL this year, and their offense is doing just enough to win some of these ball games. So give me the Houston Texans in that wild card round. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. Let's break it down. Rams Panthers. Panthers beat the Rams 31-28. In that game, Stafford had 3 turnovers. They only lost by 3 points. You look at the stats. The Rams offense recorded 379 total yards, 7.4 yards per play. They're going to be just fine and get their revenge. Sean McVay's 8-5 historically in the playoffs. They're going to get it done on Saturday. My game of the week is Packers Bears. Man, just awesome. This it's their third meeting, but the Packers are in a slump right now, and they're not the same team they were in week one. On a 4 game losing streak, their defense has allowed 28 points per game during their losing streak. So I like the Bears in this one. I know the Bears are 2-3 in their last five, but their 3 losses have all been 1-score games. So I really like the Bears to get their first win since 2010 in the playoffs. Looking at my bracket here, Bills, Jaguars. Jaguars the better team. 25 plus points. Jacksonville has scored 9 in their last 10. Jacksonville's won 8 in a row. They got the number one ranked rushing defense. They're going to stop James Cook and Josh Allen. Give me the Jaguars. 49ers, Eagles, dude. Eagles are a super team. They're loaded on both sides of the ball, and the 49ers are not the same team they were week one. This is where their injuries kept catch up to them. And that Philly defense, man, under 20 points in all their 3 wins recently. So I really like Philadelphia to win this ball game. Nick Sirianni 6-3 in the playoffs. Now looking at my game here, what's next? Chargers, Patriots. I got. Yep, Chargers, Patriots. Patriots gonna win this ball game. They won 13 of their last 14 games. It just comes down to line of scrimmage. Patriots have the advantage on both sides of the ball. Give me New England at home to prove to everybody how soft their schedule was. That's what they're gonna do. Texans, Steelers. Dude, Steelers, man, I really like them in this ball game. Houston, they won 9 straight, but their last 3 wins have all been 1-score games. You keep a 1-score game in Pittsburgh, yeah, no thanks. Give me the Steelers at home. Aaron Rodgers. This defense, he's going to be under pressure, but he's got the number one time to throw in the NFL. He gets the ball off in 2.59 seconds. Uh, let's see if the Houston's defense can catch him. So I really like the Steelers and Mike Tomlin to get a win at home.
All right, Brady, take us to the divisional round and what is going to happen. The Broncos and the Seahawks are back in play coming off of their bye weeks.
Yep, looking like 2013, both number one seeds, Seattle and Denver. Only one of them will be moving on, though, and we will start with that in the NFC. It's going to be Seattle. I think that Seattle, Green Bay has proven multiple times that they've struggled with the top tier defenses of the league. They played really bad in a loss against Cleveland. They got absolutely stifled by Philly 10-7 on a Monday Night Football slop fest back in November. I think that Seattle is going to be no different, especially without Tucker Kraft, who was playing in the Cleveland game, but not in the Philly game, if I remember correctly. Um, I just think this offense is kind of running on fumes. I think they're going to do enough to beat Chicago, especially in a divisional game where you kind of know your opponent and anything goes. But going into Seattle with the 12s extremely loud, with that defense humming the way that they have been, I think that the Seahawks should win this one pretty easily. I think the Seahawks, I mean, the bare minimum expectation with this kind of draw is making the NFC Championship game for a team that is number one in Super Bowl odds on most books. I think the Seahawks move on to the NFC Championship game and host their first NFC Championship game in 11 years. On the other side of the NFC, you've got the Eagles and the Rams. The Eagles have gotten the best of the Rams for 3 straight times dating back to last season. They got them in November last regular season. They got them in the divisional round and they got them earlier this year in week 3. And the past 2 matchups have come at Lincoln Financial. This time it will be at SoFi, where the Eagles did blow them out last year. It was a shorthanded Rams team at the time. I think it's going to go a little bit differently this time. I think Sean McVay and Love averages will be working both hard against the Eagles. I think that as good as the Eagles defense is, the Rams offense is good enough to compensate for that. And I think that the Rams defense will have an easier time stopping the Eagles offense than vice versa. I think that Matthew Stafford and the Rams book a trip to Seattle for a rematch of the game that cost the Rams the 1 seed on Thursday Night Football in overtime in December. I think we're going to get an NFC West, NFC championship game between Seattle and LA. And then flipping it over to the AFC, I did say that only one number 1 seed would advance. And that is because I think that the Houston Texans are going to take down the Denver Broncos. I think that these are both really good defenses, but I think that the Broncos are the defense that's been a little bit overrated this year, to be honest with you. They're very good. They're obviously one of the 10 best, probably one of the five best, but it just feels like you've seen some cracks in the foundation defensively over the last month and a half, including against Green Bay. They locked in the second half, but that game was bad. I mean, even when the defense is on, their offense couldn't do much against the Chiefs' third string offense, or sorry, they could not do much, and the Chiefs' third string offense almost beat them in Arrowhead a few weeks back. They've played really bad against mediocre competition a lot of this year. Teams like the Jets, the Commanders, the Titans, the Broncos have played really, really close with. And I think that even though they have the home field advantage, they are not going to be able to handle this defense. I think the Texans offense will do just enough to make it to the AFC championship game, which I'm just going off memory here. Would this be the Texans' first AFC championship game appearance? Have they made it?
I believe so.
Did they? Because
I think
I
it's the
can't
first one.
remember. I was gonna say I think that this is their first one that they would have made in franchise history. So if that is the case, congratulations, Houston Texans. You will be playing in your first AFC Championship game if my predictions come to fruition. And then we've got the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
We've got the Patriots and the Jaguars. Jaguars are a great team. Jaguars, I think, even if they're maybe not, I think the talent's actually pretty similar, but I think that the Jags have just been so cohesive, and I think that they're a little bit more balanced. I think when it comes to the Patriots and the fraud talk, it should be more based towards their defense. I'm not sure that their defense has really faced enough top competition on offense to warrant where they sit, an EPA per play and metrics like that or points per game. That's where I think that they're going to be tested against a team like Jacksonville. I think that the Patriots, even against a good Jacksonville defense, will be able to score points. I think the defense will be tested. You'll get Christian Gonzalez out there on Brian Thomas or Jacoby Myers or Carlton Davis on the other. It is really big for the Patriots, though, that they have Milton Williams and Robert Spillane both back for the playoffs. And you also have Will Campbell on the offensive side at left tackle to go against Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen. And look, I think that this game is a real toss up. I'm going to go with the homer pick because I can and because I can make my own picks. I really do think I said this in our wild card episode. A lot of times comes down to the quarterback. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, then why didn't you pick Josh Allen to be the Jaguars? Because I think that the discrepancy in rosters is a lot heavier between Buffalo and Jacksonville than it is between New England and Jacksonville. I think that Drake May is, if Josh Allen's out, Drake May is easily the best quarterback remaining in the AFC playoff field. They're playing at home. It's a Florida team, a warm weather team coming to Foxborough in January. And I think that plays to the Patriots' advantage. So I know that it is a bias. Like everybody has biases. Mine is clearly showing with this prediction, but I don't think it's ridiculous to pick the Patriots in this scenario either. I think it's a toss up game, and I'm going with New England to go to the AFC Championship game and host it for the first time since 2017. And who did they host in that game? The Jaguars.
Hmm. Yeah, I think as far as the AFC playoff picture goes, Dan alluded to it a little bit earlier. He doesn't like teams in one score games. He thinks it's a little frisky. There's one
There
team
you
in
go. There we go.
particular in the NFL this year that does it every
Hmm.
single week.
Yeah.
It's the Denver Broncos. And it doesn't matter, like Brady mentioned, if they're playing the Chiefs backups or if they're playing the best team in football. The Broncos are going to be in a one score game in the fourth quarter, and they're going to find a miracle on how to win a
The
football game.
scary
And
way to live.
the most interesting part about the Broncos is they have a top 10, actually, we'll specific it down a little bit more, a top 7 or higher pass blocking offense. They actually have the best pass blocking offense in football according to PFF. The 7th best run blocking offense in the NFL according to PFF. You
Ryan,
know
I
what's
had
concerning though?
not to cut you off. I had two just to age your point here. I had two of the Broncos starters on my first team All Pro in Garrett Bowles and Quinn Miners. That unit is elite.
Elite offensive line. and they have zero consistency on the offensive side of the ball. I wonder why. It's because of the quarterback position. And
Hmm.
listen, Bo Nix has shown us basically what he is this entire year. He has elevated his play in better matchups and in the fourth quarter. That is just a fact, right? But the first three quarters in the playoffs, really meaningful football. And if he continues to be inconsistent and inaccurate on a lot of these throws and make the wrong decisions, unfortunately, it's not the regular season where some of these other teams are potentially not as good, not as locked in. With Denver, that can cost you a playoff game. And you mentioned it earlier, Brady. This defense hasn't been as dominant in the second half of the season since their bye week, even with the return of Pat Surtain. If their defense hasn't been elite, this team really just it doesn't do anything very well, right? Their offense is above average, inconsistent. Their defense is above average still, but has been inconsistent over the last few weeks. They're going to need to ride that defense to move on to the playoffs, and I have them facing the Buffalo Bills, who have been very solid, and I think their strengths on Buffalo match up well with what Denver's kind of weak at. They're a little bit inconsistent against the ground, and I think James Cook would have a solid game against them, and Josh Allen will find ways to mitigate that Denver pass rush with how they run an offense in Buffalo. Quick passes, get the ball out, RPOs. And I think that bodes well for the matchup against the Denver Broncos. And, the Bills defense, their rushing attack, RJ Harvey really hasn't had a massive season since J.K. Dobbins went down, and they haven't really had an efficient ground game. Sean Payton wants to throw the ball a ton. He wants Bo Nix to win these games. The Bills have a great pass defense. They're built to beat Kansas City in a high pass octane attack like the Denver Broncos, who throws the ball top 10 in the NFL. It bodes well for the matchup. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills to beat the Broncos on the road. And then for the other AFC matchup, I had the Texans versus the Patriots. Oh man, this is where I'm going off the grain. I have Houston winning this ball game. I think in terms of the matchup, listen, this is a weird year in the NFL, and I think some weird stuff is going to happen this postseason. I think Drake May is going to have a nice postseason. I think Houston's defense is just that good. I mean, in a 2 week stretch, they held Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen to 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. They were that dominant. And towards the end of the season, you're right, Dan. They weren't as dominant, but they really didn't have much to play for. They were a game behind Jacksonville.
That's
They were already riding a 9 game win streak. They were 3-5 at one point, and I want to say they finished the year 12-5 or 11-6, one of those two. They were that dominant to close the season, and this Houston defense doesn't have weaknesses. They are that good, and facing New England, who has been inconsistent on the ground game this year, if they become one-dimensional against this Houston Texans defense, it becomes very difficult to pass consistently on them with the edge rushers that they have, the quarterbacks that they have, the safeties that they have. This is a really good defense. And while I don't trust their offense, you alluded to it, Brady, earlier, this Patriots defense, I think, might be the more fraudulent unit of the two based on the matchups that they have. They're not a great pass defense, and that is what Houston has had success with over the past few weeks is their wide receivers are winning. And I do think Christian Gonzalez shadowing Nico Collins will make an impact, but I think with what some of the other guys they have, and I think Dalton Schultz matches up well with what New England struggled with against tight ends. That's what I look at, and I think, man, like maybe Houston comes out, wins 20-17 in a year that's been very unpredictable. Elite defenses could take you very far this postseason. So I'm going to ride with Houston over New England in that matchup, but it's not because I don't think Drake May is going to not live up to the moment. I think he has a decent day, but I don't think it's going to be enough against Houston's defense. On the other side of it, I have Green Bay versus Seattle. I have the same bracket in the NFC as Brady. Green Bay, as they always do, they're going to win one playoff game. They're going to lose the second playoff game. And Seattle entering this one, they have been very good. DVOA, one of 6 teams in NFL history to be number one on offense, number one on defense in terms of DVOA. 4 of those teams won a Super Bowl. The only other loss was the Baltimore Ravens. The Seahawks are at least winning one postseason game this year. And regardless of how I feel about Sam Darnold, that defense is going to have its way against the Packers. The Seahawks are winning that one. On the other side of it, Rams versus Eagles. The Rams find a way to lose to the Eagles in the stupidest possible ways every single time, right? Stupidest ways. But every time I watch the Rams play the Eagles, I come away saying the Rams are a better football team than the Eagles. The weapons they have on the outside are not coverable. You can't cover Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, have a tight end attack like the Rams do, and then mix in Kyron Williams and Blake Corum on the ground. That has given the Eagles problems over the last 2 seasons. I mean, you've seen it in the postseason and this year. The Rams are finally going to find a way to get the job done. And I think the Eagles' offensive problems are going to come back to bite them in this matchup specifically. As long as the Rams special teams does not fail them, they will beat Philly. All right, Dan, give us your divisional.
All right, so in the playoffs, I'm going to start with the AFC. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers at Denver Broncos. I think this is a game that you give Sean Payton 2 weeks to prepare. Obviously with the bye week, the Steelers come in here with an upset. Obviously, I think the Broncos are going to dominate them on the defensive side. Their defense is going to carry this team, and I think Sean Payton's going to cook something off up on the offensive side.
I would say
Uh,
that would be very fitting if Denver got Pittsburgh with the year that they're having.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect matchup for Denver. So
It
that's
is.
why they're going to go to the AFC Championship. And then the other game I have is Jacksonville, New England. Jacksonville, Brady said it, coming from Florida to Foxborough. They did it before, and I have it up here 2018 with Blake Bortles. They fell short. Unfortunately, I think after their big win against the Bills, I think they're going to start feeling themselves, and they're going to lose this game in Foxborough. The Patriots are going to go to the AFC Championship game. NFC side, I got the Seahawks versus the LA Rams. Probably maybe the matchup of the playoffs. Played each other twice, split. Okay, but I just think this Seattle team is different. If there's one team in the playoffs to beat them, it's the Rams. But they're gonna pull it off with this home field advantage. Crazy stat: Seattle has won its last 10 home games with fans in attendance. That's the third longest streak in the NFL. So give me the Seattle Seahawks at home. And then
Wait,
I got the
Dan,
Eagles
Dan, that's just like in general in the regular season, or that's 10 straight playoff games at home that they've won.
playoffs.
Okay, that's what I
10
thought.
home playoff games. Sorry, I missed the playoff part. If I forgot that. Yeah,
I,
10
I
straight
thought
home
that's what
playoff
you
games
meant. I was
with
just making
fans.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with fans because they played in COVID year. The Rams
they,
beat them,
they
but
played the
there's
Rams. Yeah.
yeah, there's nobody in the stands. Dude,
Mhm.
that's one of the toughest places to play.
Oh yeah.
They play a factor, especially with that defense. So give me the Seahawks, and then the last one I have is Eagles Bears. Bears beat them a couple weeks ago, but this Eagles team is different. If you watch that game over again, the Eagles were dominating them on both sides of the line of scrimmage. I know they gave up a lot of yards, but the Bears couldn't. They weren't really moving the ball. Caleb was running for his life, and I think the Eagles get up for that game. So give me the Eagles in that one. So AFC Championship, I have Patriots, Broncos, and then Eagles, Seahawks.
Why don't you give us our predictions for those?
All right. Conference Championship. Broncos play too many one-score games. They don't have an extra week to prepare for the Patriots. Patriots come to town. They're going to put up some points against the Broncos. They can't keep up. Patriots are going to the Super Bowl. Flip side, Eagles, Seahawks. Eagles going up to Seattle to play that team. Their offense can't score as it is. You think they're going to score against that Seattle team? It's not going to happen. Their defense is going to control that game. We're going to have a rematch Super Bowl 49, like I've been saying. Patriots, Seahawks, Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara.
All right, Brady, what are your championship matchups going to turn out as?
All right, so I'll start in the AFC. I have a matchup that Ryan actually had in the divisional between the Patriots and the Texans, and I was reading through Bill Barnwell from ESPN. He dropped his playoff column today and was going round by round, and he made some interesting points because he had the Patriots and the Texans facing off in the divisional, but he had the Patriots winning, and he had a few reasons for that. Number one is as good as the Texans defense has been. I believe they have been if they weren't the top, they were in the top three of most fortunate defenses when it comes to opponent drops. And they've been giving up some separation. They've had a lot of drops against them. And the Patriots, on the flip side, are a top three team in terms of not dropping the ball offensively. And as weak as the Patriots' red zone defense has been at times, granted, the volume has not been super high. They've done a good job keeping teams out of the red zone for most of the year. A lot of that can be chalked up to opponent, I think. But their red zone defense has been weak. The Texans' red zone offense has been just as weak, if not weaker. And a lot of that stems from an even bigger problem, which is that they cannot run the football, like you said. And when it comes to New England's defense, stopping the run is the strength, especially with Milton Williams back there, with Barmore on the interior. And you look at the Patriots, even against some of these teams with a great pass rush, they've been able to score points offensively. And I know the Texans are a different level with Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter coming off the edge, but it was like even against the Browns, who I know the Browns can't really score a ton of points. Neither can Houston, though. Miles Garrett alone had 5 sacks with Drake May, and the Patriots still scored 30 points in that game. The Falcons just set a franchise record for sacks, and I think it was still 27 points that the Patriots scored in that game. They've shown that they can mix in enough quick game with Diggs and with Pop Douglas and those guys over the middle. And the biggest thing to me that you touched on, Ryan, is the Patriots, while their run game for a lot of the year has been inconsistent, I believe they're averaging close to like 200 yards rushing a game over the last 4 weeks. Ever since Ramondre Stevenson got back and got truly healthy, Ramondre over the last 4 games is averaging 9 yards a carry. And then you've got Trevion Henderson and his home run ability. I mean, you saw Ramondre had like 180 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns last week. Trevion had almost 200 yards against Buffalo a few weeks ago in that debacle. They've been running the ball a lot better, and it'll only be better with Will Campbell back. With that being said, I'm going the flip of what you said. I think it will be a 20-17, 23-17, low scoring type of a game, but I think that the Patriots pull it out. And like Dan said, I think that the Patriots will be playing in Santa Clara in Super Bowl 60. They might be benefactors of a weaker AFC playoff field this year, but I think that if they went through that road, Chargers, Jaguars, Texans, I think they will have earned it. And I think that all the schedule stuff will be put to rest. Of course, it's all speculation and we're doing this for fun. But in that case, I think people would have to give them their due. On the NFC side, Seahawks and Rams. Dan, we are allies of the Patriots. We had a common pick there, but I'm going to have to go apart from you here because I think that the Los Angeles Rams are just going to. I think that as dominant as this Seattle defense has been, the Rams still got off on them, even in that overtime loss. I mean, the Seahawks made a couple of crucial stops in the fourth quarter, but Stafford still had, what, 400 plus yards, 3 touchdowns. And the Rams offense, that was without Devontae Adams as well. I think that Sean McVay, seeing this defense for the third time, will have some answers. I think that this will be a really competitive game, but I think that the Rams offense is just a little bit too high powered, and it obviously is the best that the Seahawks will have seen this season. I've got the Rams coming out on top, and I've got us having an MVP bowl between Drake May and Matthew Stafford in Santa Clara.
They should
Yep.
push back the MVP to whoever wins that
Right.
game.
And
Yeah, that's what they should do. All right, I'll stick on the NFC side of things first. Brady, you mentioned it. Like the difference in the Los Angeles Rams offensive attack without Devontae Adams in that second game was significantly different than it was in the first game. They found like what worked, and Stafford had a monster day against the Seahawks, and I know it resulted, in a loss. That was in a large part due to that defense not performing up to their standard. And ultimately, they dominated that game through 3 quarters and kind of crumbled down the stretch there. I don't think that the Rams find really stupid ways to lose football games. I've said this for 2 years now. They have all the talent they need on both sides of the ball. Right, their weakest thing on offense, they don't pass block that great, and on defense, they haven't stopped the run well as of late. I do think those could potentially come back to bite them in this matchup against Seattle, but the matchups of Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams is so hard to stop. And with how Stafford has played this entire season when those two have been on the field together, this team is just so good. It is very hard to stop the Rams when they have that combination of guys are going. And even if they are the number one DVOA defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL, they are, I think they're a little bit below the Houston Texans in terms of like a defense that can carry you this postseason. I think there are ways to exploit Seattle, and they dominated the 49ers last week. Don't get me wrong, right? But I think that the Rams, seeing them 3 times, are going to have a little bit of an advantage between their veteran quarterback, the Super Bowl winning head coach, right, and the weapons that they do. That is very tough to match up, regardless of what type of defense you are, with the talent they have for Los Angeles. So give me the Rams in that one. Um, Not even going to mention Sam Darnold as a reason why the Seahawks are going to lose. I'm not going to be a scapegoat guy and say Sam Darnold's going to be the fall guy for the Seahawks losing. I think the Rams offense will be the unit that gets it done in that matchup. On the flip side of things, I have a rematch. We don't have a division winner in the conference championship on my AFC bracket. We have the Buffalo Bills traveling to the Houston Texans in the AFC championship in my mind. Like I said, I think either Buffalo or Jacksonville will be in the AFC championship this year, whoever
it's
wins
a
that ball game.
house of nightmares for Josh Allen in NRG
It
Stadium.
is. It is. Like Josh Allen is going to have to go on a run if he is going to make the Super Bowl this year. He's going to have to do it against some great defenses, and he's going to have to do it without a good run defense on the other side of the ball. And I think this is the year that if he makes this type of a run, right, we can finally say that Josh Allen, right, is that type of guy that no one has any sort of worries about. No one can critique, even though they will just because they're hate watching at that point, right? But Josh Allen is going to have to go through this road to have, a potential chance at the Super Bowl. But Houston's defense, man, the last time they matched up, and the year before they even played them well
I would
too.
say that
They
last year
were
he went 9
dominant.
for 30 against them.
They were dominant against Josh Allen in 2 straight years. It seems like they have their number and they know how to slow down this Bills offense. I think it's gonna happen for a third time. I can't believe this. I got CJ Stroud going to the Super Bowl this year, which is something I never thought I would say after a few weeks into the
Hey, he's
season
good.
and entering the season. But like I said, it's a weird year. Give me the best defense in the
He's
field.
good, man. He's good.
If they find a way to get the Super Bowl, anything is up for grabs. Right, you guys have the same Super or no, we all have different Super Bowl
Yep,
matchups.
yep.
Dan's got the Seahawks versus the Patriots. Dan, who is taking home the Super Bowl?
All right, man. So I'm telling you, we're gonna be there the week of, and all week, all we're gonna hear is, can Sam Darnold win the big game? There's no way, right? Sam Darnold's not better than Drake May. Come on, Sam Darnold's never gonna win the big one. Blah blah blah. The spread's gonna be it's gonna be probably 2.5 all week. Seahawks favored by 2.5. That's just going to be the talk. Sam Darnold, can they win the big one? I think it's going to be a hell of a Super Bowl. I think it's going to be back and forth. What worries me is that Seattle's defense they're second in the NFL in quarterback pressures, and New England is they allowed 48 sacks this season. That's tied ninth worst. The only problem is Drake May can elude some sacks. He can make some plays like he's done all year. So that's why I think it's going to be a back and forth game. I just think the Seahawks are going to win a nail biter, and they're going to win their first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 48,
48,
which was
yep.
2013,
12
when they
years
beat the
ago.
Broncos.
A little bit
Yeah,
of
so
revenge for the one they lost against the Patriots.
yeah, that is true. So yeah, so when the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay, the Seattle Seahawks will be
Okay, I
winning.
see the journey reference there, Dan. I like it.
That's it.
Uh,
That's the Super
wow.
Bowl.
You know, I'm gonna go a similar route to Dan here. As much as I love the Patriots, as much as I love Drake May, the
This
first
is
three
where Brady
matchups we've
hops off the train.
the first three matchups we've talked about here, there has not been a big talent discrepancy between the Patriots and their opponent. And in fact, you could argue
Yeah.
in all three of those games that the Patriots might even have the advantage in talent. And they have a great coach too. I don't know if I'd say that Vrabes is a better coach than Liam Cohen. It's probably too soon to tell, but I'd probably take Mike Vrabel over both Jim Harbaugh and D'Amico Ryans by a slim margin. But when it comes to this game, when it comes to playing the Los Angeles Rams, like you mentioned, Ryan, just offensively, there are so many weapons. Christian Gonzalez might can hold one of the two in check between Puka and Devontae. Who's taking the other? I think that the other guy, whoever it is going to be able to beat Carlton Davis. I think that the Patriots' run defense, as good as it is, Sean McVay is going to be able to scheme up runs. And then defensively for the Rams, I think that they can get just enough stops of this Patriots offense. I mean, the Rams at this point, they've been around the block, and I've harped on experience at a few different points in our wild card preview and this one. And the Rams have that experience. 2021, they win the Super Bowl. Even before then, with Jared Goff, Sean McVay was at the helm and went to Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta. They've been in the playoffs multiple times since then. They're a seasoned team. They are a team that is right in the middle of a championship window. And the Patriots window is just now beginning this year. They won 4 games last year. Drake May is 23 years old. It's year one of Mike Vrabel. This is just the beginning for New England. They will get more chances down the road. But I think that this is going to be the Rams' second championship with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. And I do want to include a nugget. There's only one guy, I believe, over the last 25 years, and it was Patrick Mahomes in 2022 to win the MVP and win the Super Bowl. And I don't think there's going to be another one added to this list. I'm holding steadfast. I think Drake May will win the MVP award. I think Matthew Stafford will win the Super Bowl MVP award and take home that trophy in Super Bowl 60. Patriots fall just short in a spectacular, 17-4 season in year two of Drake May. A lot to look forward to, but it will be the Rams as the Super Bowl champions in the 2025-26 NFL season.
Yeah, call me unoriginal, but they're going against like the storyline the entire week for my Super Bowl is can the most talented offense in football overcome the best
Does
defense in
defense
football?
win championships?
Does defense win championships? Like, this is going to be the game where people look at the Houston Texans, a team that has nowhere near the complete talent the Los Angeles Rams have as terms of a roster, right? Can the Texans be like the 2001 Ravens, where they completely rely on that defense to win a Super Bowl and nobody remembers really the guys on the offensive side of the ball for that team? I feel like they could be a similar team in that aspect, but I also feel like on the other side of things, right, the Rams are just the best team, right? That any sort of team, I think the Rams, Seahawks, and Eagles probably would win the AFC. Probably would. I think the Eagles might be the most controversial one of those three because their offensive struggles, but the talent discrepancy on the AFC versus the NFC this year seems pretty legit. And I think the winner of the NFC probably wins the Super Bowl this year. The Rams specifically, they have the talent to take down Houston. They have the weapons at wide receiver. They have the ground game to pair off of that, right? When you look at Houston's playoff route, specifically in my picture, Pittsburgh, outside of DK Metcalf and Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, not much there. And those guys aren't world beaters by any means. Aaron
Right.
Rodgers at the tail end of his prime behind a bad offensive line. The next matchup, the New England Patriots, like you guys alluded to a little bit of problems in terms of protecting Drake May at times. There's a matchup they can exploit in the Patriots, right? You look at their weapons, while they have a good collection of a group, they don't have a wide receiver one that's just elite by any means. Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, good tandem, not elite. And then you go to Buffalo, outside of Josh Allen and then James Cook, their receivers stink. Their offensive line has been banged up over the last few weeks. They will be healthy when they play, but the Rams, they have elite receivers. They have a good running back in Kyron Williams. I'm not going to say he's elite. He's a good player. Blake Corum seems like he's a nice piece as well. They have the talent to take them down, and they also have a head coach and a quarterback that have won a Super Bowl together. The only other two that have done that in this field are Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, and Nick Sirianni is not the main reason they won the Super Bowl, right? Sean McVay is not even 40 years old yet, and Stafford, this is probably his last year. They're going to win a Super Bowl. And the Los Angeles Rams, that is going to be it. And I
Hey, Ryan,
honestly,
you didn't even point this out. This
what?
would be it was week 1 and then it would be the Super Bowl. It was a week 1 matchup where Houston traveled to LA and LA won 14-9, I believe, in that one. We'd be capping it off with a week 1
With the
matchup.
first
That would be
matchup,
pretty
yeah. I
interesting.
did. I literally slipped my mind. Didn't even remember that one. But yeah, I think this is going to be it. And you know what would be interesting if Los Angeles wins and Matthew Stafford retires is how long Sean McVay sticks around in Los Angeles, because there's been years where it's Sean McVay, the retirement rumors have flirted Sean McVay to go to TV. Maybe he takes a little bit
Would
of reset.
they go get a number 9? Would they go get Joe Burrow? And
Who knows? Who knows? It would be interesting. I think they might. They're going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch this offseason because they have some vets and they also have a lot of talent, and it'll be interesting. But I got Los Angeles. Dan is going with the Seattle Seahawks, and Brady is also going with the Rams as well. It looks like the
Damn,
NFC West is the clear
NFC.
winner
I was going to say,
for the
so
Super Bowl
if
picks.
you believe that Blitz is a prophetic media brand and you believe that we know what's going on, then there are 4 teams that could win the Super Bowl that should put your money on: the Rams, the Seahawks, the Patriots, or the Texans.
Yeah, the Texans, high odds there. Best value pick.
Yeah, best value pick for sure. Texans and
But
Pats.
what are the Pats at in terms of
I
like the
think they're the
field?
second. I think they're the second best AFC odds. I think Denver, for some reason, has the best odds in
Well,
the
they're
AFC.
number 1 seed.
Mm.
That's why.
Yeah, I get it. It's just, but I think it goes Denver, New England, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Houston, if I
I'm
remember
not gonna lie, the
correctly.
sports books though have been really bad this year. I mean, it's been a chaotic year. Their spreads have been bad in
Dude,
terms of the games.
look at the MVP swing from Stafford
Yeah,
stat padding at the end of the Cardinals game when he was like May was like minus 500.
It don't make
the
any sense.
books are when the books are like completely off on their lines, it's a chaotic year this year. So
I am.
that's what this season will be defined by, and I'm sure the postseason will bring a lot of that as well. And our brackets are all going to be busted by some crazy team pulling off a big upset
Panthers are
this
gonna beat the
postseason.
Rams and we're all gonna be
Panthers going all the
screwed.
way with Bryce Young. Write it down.
Dude, you
Write it
imagine?
down.
Man,
All right. Well, hey, we really appreciate everybody tuning into our playoff predictions episode. Drop a comment down below. Who is going to win the Super Bowl and over who? Hit that subscribe button for more Blitz Angle content. Me, Dan, and Brady. We'll catch y'all next time.